Mrs. Henderson.
Thank you, President Schultz. The Finance Committee has 3 items on the agenda this evening. Item number 2 at first reading is an ordinance to purchase $7,350 worth of the LED light bars that are for the marked cars in the police department. This is in addition to the council assignment 249 that we previously had, where we had bought some other lights, but the miscommunication did not include for the actual marked cars, the new Dodge Chargers that are in hand and need to be retrofitted right away. This quote is for the purchase and installation, and at the appropriate time I'll ask that we waive the 3-read rule so that these new cruisers can be put on the street and be ready to use. Item number 3 at first reading is an ordinance for $5,200 worth of uniforms to outfit 2 new police hires. These are not additional police employees, but they are hires that there are currently in line to replace for retirements and positions that are already being staffed. And at the appropriate time, we'll ask to waive the 3-read rule so that we can get these monies appropriated and be able to outfit the new hires. Item number 4 at first reading is an ordinance to purchase a computer for the Treasurer's office. As council will remember, at our last regular session, they had a dilemma. Their computer is down. It's totally unoperational. They need $1,000 added extra to the city treasurer's budget. It is on order because it is a true emergency. That office has only 1 computer and they need this, so we'll ask to waive the 3-read rule and get this computer purchased and appropriately paid for. We had a Finance Committee meeting last week that addressed these council assignments, and then we were given the assignment, council, for the purchase of 95 East Main Street, the Friedman Building. This evening we held a review session to try to bring in the appropriate dollar amounts to the Finance Committee meeting of the best available data that we have. We went over the data that we have up to the minute regarding the purchase of that building and or consideration of a one-stop shop, which would be all of council and the administration and the courts together. Due to the fact that the city has an offer in hand to purchase the building at a greatly reduced price, and this would expire by May 31, I will exercise the chair's prerogative to ask that we have legislation at first reading at the earliest available time by hopefully this Friday, where we would read to purchase this building and show good faith that we're giving consideration to this offer. And so I'll be submitting the legislation using chair's prerogative, and we would read it at the first reading this Friday. In the meantime, I gave the copies of all the information that I have to the Schooley Caldwell Associates that are also representing the Carlisle Tower LLC, and they assure me that they're working on the numbers so that there will be no final vote taken until we have all of the best available numbers and considerations on the table. And by my quick calculations here, the second reading would be June 8th, and the third reading would be June 22nd. And so, as I told the gentleman, the clock is ticking. It is unfair to drag this rhetoric on and on. We're either going to have to accept it or reject the offer. So let's have it at the first reading and move on. And that would be my recommendation, and I would ask that the mayor call a special meeting for this Friday. That does conclude my report.
Okay. All right, Mr. Trutchell.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. The Parks and Recreation Committee doesn't have anything on tonight's agenda. However, I received the Gus Macker legislation tonight. I received a phone call about 2 weeks ago from one of the organizers of the event, and I let them know then to get this thing on the road so we can let the residents of the downtown area and the businesses of the downtown area be aware of what's going on. I hate springing something like this on to close the streets down on our residents. It's just not the way to do things. But I would also ask Friday if we could get this on the agenda so we can at least get one reading on it. I don't intend on waiving the rules, but in order to get this in by the 24th of June, when the event is, we will have to waive it at some point in time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Reports of city officials. Mayor Salzer.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of council. Just discussing a couple of the items on this council's agenda this evening. I would join with Mrs. Henderson on items 2, 3, and 4, dealing with the purchase of certain materials for the police department as well as for the treasurer's office, and to ask council's favorable consideration and suspension of the rules and passage of those items this evening. The police cruisers that the new LED light bars will be used for are now Dodge Chargers. So you will be seeing a smaller police vehicle patrolling our streets. It does also include a SUV, a larger vehicle that is four-wheel drive, which we have found that in the past during bad weather, it is a better idea for our police officers to be able to get around the community and to utilize a four-wheel drive when necessary. Item 8 deals with the neighborhood stabilization grant funds, which Mrs. Ames reported upon. This is monies that is divided once again between Ross County, Pickaway County, and Pike County, and the majority of the money is coming to the city of Chillicothe to assist in neighborhood revitalization. Item 10 deals with the additional appropriations, or I should say the appropriations of monies from the Ohio Public Works Commission for street improvements. As Mrs. Malone had reported on, this is about $100,000 to $110,000 more than what we normally receive. This is a result of the state stimulus package, and I understand there may be a second round of funding yet in 2009. So hopefully we'll be watching for that. Item 11 deals with the ratification of the bargaining agreement between the city and ASME Local 1562. I would join with Mr. Bonner in asking council to approve that. A copy of the bargaining agreement itself, I believe, has been provided to all of council members for their perusal. It contains all of the information which we have discussed in executive session dealing with our bargaining with this particular local. We have 2 more contracts to deal with yet in 2009, and hopefully we can get those done in fast order. I do have some good news for council as well as the citizens. Last year we paid an exorbitant amount for our salt for our city streets during the winter months. This year we have been told by the Department of Transportation we may purchase salt for $59.44 per ton, which is $90.67 less per ton than what we paid in 2008-2009. So hats off to the Ohio Department of Transportation for negotiating this contract and getting the better price for us. I would also remind the citizens that July 4th is just around the corner. We are once again accepting donations to the city of Chillicothe for our fireworks display. Each year we raise approximately $25,000 in the community. It is a very good display. Not only does it benefit the citizens of Chillicothe and Ross County, but the surrounding area as well. The number of people who come from surrounding counties just to see our fireworks display. As I understand in talking to Kathy Primer, the Parks and Recreation Director, we're only about halfway there so far. So anyone who would like to make a donation, please make your check payable to the City of Chillicothe Parks and Recreation Department and mail it either to the Parks and Recreation Office or mail it to the Mayor's Office. And then finally, Tom Trutchell's Mayor's Cup golf outing.
I'm not the mayor.
Will be held on Saturday, July the 25th. And once again, I think it's important to reiterate, this is not a fundraiser for the mayor. This is a fundraiser for the Parks and Recreation Department. All proceeds from this event are strictly used for the Parks and Recreation Department for capital items. This year we hope to have a good turnout. There was an advertisement in the newspaper, I believe, over the weekend, and we would encourage those who would like to join and have a good event, and at the same time help our Parks and Recreation Department to please participate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Law Director, Mrs. Eddy.
Thank you, President Schultz. Mr. Morrissey was unable to be here tonight, but I did have an opportunity to speak with him, and he asked that I pass along with respect to items 11 and 13. He would ask that council consider passage of those tonight as well in order that they can start preparing all the back pay, et cetera, that needs to take place through his office.